Good day, my dear TAS students. So we shall have our Quipper recollection this Holy Week. Nakipag-usap ako sa mga teachers. They suggested na isa sa mga topic natin ay tungkol sa relationships. At ang topic na ito is merong dalawang tema. As you will see in the presentation of these study guides through this YouTube presentation. So this is intended for the TAS Abulug cluster. So relationships. Ayon sa ating mga guro, isa raw itong kailangan matutunan ng ating mga mag-aaral tungkol sa relationships. So I am here as your life coach to help you how to deal with your relationships. So relationships basically is to communicate your feelings without blaming or judging each other. Kung saan napakahirap ang mag-communicate ng ating nararamdaman na hindi tayo nagbe-blame o nanguhusga sa iba. Kaya sa first part ng topic na ito tungkol sa relationships, I'll try to present to you a very important value, and that's what we call vulnerability. Pakiulit, vulnerability. It's one of the key to better relationships. So please read through this list and tell me if any of it applies to you. You consistently fall into boring conversation topics because they're safe and shallow, and you don't have to risk offending or inciting anyone with them. Kung minsan sa pakikipag-usap ninyo ay merong boring conversation, inaalaw lang ninyo kasi ayaw ninyong mag-offend o masaktan ng iba. Pangalawa, you're stuck in a job or lifestyle you don't truly enjoy. Kayo mag-aaral pa lang, no? Because other people always told you that it was a good idea and you didn't want to upset or disappoint others. Number 3, you haven't exercised or grown yourself to the extent that you could because you didn't want to stand out too much. Ayaw mong mapansin ng tao na hindi ka nag-aayos ng sarili mo. Number 4, dressing extremely well makes you feel uncomfortable. And number 5, smiling at strangers makes you feel creepy. All of these, kapag check lahat yun, all of these are symptoms of a root problem. An inability to make yourself vulnerable. Kung ganon, para bang okay lang na may mga boring conversations, ayaw mong iparamdam ang feeling mo na it's boring, na pumasok ka sa course na yan dahil sabi ng nanay at tatay mo. So, ito ay isang inability to make yourself vulnerable. Yan. Many of us weren't taught how to express our emotions freely. Hindi tayo tinuturuan na i-express natin yung ating emosyon. Wala itong ganitong subject sa ating curriculum, about relationships. And I'm taking advantage of this recollection na sana matutunan ninyo ang relationships are very important sa ating buhay. Hindi tayo naturuan na express natin ang ating emosyon freely. My entire young life, I was terrified of anyone not liking me. Dati-rati gusto ako lahat ng iba. The mere thought of someone hating me, girl or guy, would literally keep me up at night. Yung pleaser ba, gusto mong laging nagpi-please sa iba. As a result, every aspect of my life revolved around people pleasing. Hiding my faults covering my tracks, blaming others. So yan ang buhay ko noon. I please people, I hide my faults, I cover my tracks, I blame others. Connecting with others in this way by being vulnerable, as opposed to overcompensating and trying to get everyone to like you, will result in some of the best interactions and relationships of your life. Kapag if you want to please everybody, yan ay isang palatandaan na you are getting into a not so good relationships. So, pinag-uusapan natin ang vulnerability. So, anong ibig sabihin ng vulnerability? Vulnerability is consciously choosing to not hide your emotions or desires from others. Yan ang vulnerability. Consciously, pinipili mo na hindi mo itatago ang iyong emosyon at iyong mga gusto, desires from others. That's it. You just freely express your thoughts, feelings, desires, and opinions regardless of what others might think of you. Minsan dyan, nahihiya tayo. Baka sabihin nilang mababaw tayo, sabihin nilang ganito tayo, yung ating pag-iisip. Parang pangit yun no? Parang yung ginagawa ng nanay at tatay ko is hindi ko gusto. Yung feelings, nagagalit ka. Yung gusto mo sa buhay, yung opinion mo. Yan ang vulnerability, na isabihin mo, i-express mo, regardless of what others might think of you. It can mean putting yourself in a position where you can be rejected, of course. We fear being rejected. Saying a joke that might not be funny, asserting an opinion that may offend others, joining a table of people you don't know. But the key to true vulnerability is that you're willing to accept the consequences no matter what. So you freely manifest your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, at willing ka ni-accept na ikaw ay ma-reject or ikaw ay matanggap ng iba. Yan ang totoong vulnerability. It's not mere expressing our feelings, pero takot ka naman sa consequences ng rejection or affirmation. So, ang vulnerability, you manifest your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your opinions, and you are willing to accept the consequences no matter what. You will offend some people, So, we cannot please everybody. May mga taong masasaktan tayo. You will turn some people off. You might lose a friend. But vulnerability is the path through true human connection. As Robert Glover said in No More Mr. Nice Guy, humans are attracted to each other's rough edges. Show your rough edges. Stop trying to be perfect. Nobody is perfect, my dear students. Expose your true self and share yourself without inhibition. Share yourself without inhibition. Take the rejections and lumps and move on. Kung hindi ka nila matanggap, kung sino ka talaga, move on. You're the bigger, stronger person. Now, ways to be more vulnerable. Father, paano ko maging more vulnerable? Gusto ko maging vulnerable to express my feelings, my emotions, my thoughts, my opinions sa nanay at tatay ko, sa mga kaibigan ko, sa mga tao. So, paano? At gusto ko rin na kahit na ma-reject ako or ma-affirm ako, it's just okay that I will accept those consequences. First, admit you are terrible at something. Yun. Hindi tayo perfect. May mga pagkahinaan tayo. May mga pagkakamali tayo. And accept mo yan. Think about it. If someone is obviously bad at something, whether it's their free throw shooting or singing bangaw, there's probably nothing more embarrassing or awkward that when they openly brag about how good they are at it. For example, no, bangaw ka, tapos sinasabi mo manggaling mong kumanda, or hindi ka naman marunong mag-basketball, sabihin mong para kang si si Stephen Curry or si LeBron James, no? Terrible. On the other hand, when someone openly admits they are terrible at something, I'm not good at this, you'll probably end up respecting them more for it, as long as they're not too desperate about it, of course. Mas pinakakatiwalaan ko ang isang taong, no, inaamin ang kanyang mga pagkakamali at kanyang mga kahinaan. If you're not good at connecting with people at home and you think it's affecting your school performance, tell some of your family members you're having a hard time and see if they have any advice for you. Yan ang maganda. Mahina ako sa finances, no? And then they will try to help you. The point is that you're not trying to be something that you're not. You accept who you are, faults and all. People will see this as incredibly confident behavior and respond in kind. Ako, for example, mahina ako, may kahinaan ako sa finances, mahina ako sa pagdodrawing, mahina ako sa mga manual labor. So, yun ang aking kahinaan. At hindi ako nahihiya na sinasabi ko ang aking kahinaan. Pangalawa na paraan to be more vulnerable. Yung una is admit na may kahinaan tayo. Pangalawa, take responsibility instead of blaming others. Minsan, no, as a school director, when I correct, no, the principal, for example, no, kung meron kasi ako nakikitang mali, no, sinasabi nila, no, kasi yung teacher na yun eh. Tapos yung teacher, kausapin kasi yung principal eh. Mga ganon, no? They blame others. So we must take responsibility instead of blaming others. Mas maganda yung nagkamali ako, Father. No? I'll do my best not to do it again and learn from my mistakes. We all know someone who always seems to blame someone else or everyone else for their problems. No? Kung minsan, ganito ako kasi sa tatay ko, sa nanay ko, no? Sa teacher ko. The student who constantly falls short of his studies and blames the pandemic or the teacher or basically anything but their incompetence, just admit when you need help with something and find someone who can help you get better. Kung minsan, no, bilang isang guro sa religion and other subjects, minsan mga late na pagsasubmit ng mga estudyante, sinisisi nila ang internet connection, may trabaho sila, no? They don't take the responsibility and instead they blame others for their late submission, for their incompetence, and for their low grades. The woman who blames all men, not just one man, but all men, for her terrible love life, as a general rule, if you're trying to figure out if it's between half of the population all having the exact same problem, or if it's perhaps just you, well, I have some bad news. I did the math and it's extremely likely that it's you. So let's start there. No? Pag sinisisi mo lahat ng mga lalaki dahil nga, no, sa bad experience mo sa yung dati mong ex, no? Kung pag-isipan mong mabuti, no, ang may kasalanan ay hindi lang yung ex mo, kundi ikaw rin mismo. No? Assume the responsibility. The reason taking responsibility for your problems is so powerful is because it puts you in control of the situation. Ako ang may problema kung bakit lagi akong naging hindi faithful ang mga lalaki sa akin. Lagi silang nangangaliwa, lagi silang nagtataksil. So, ako ang problema. So, very powerful yung taking responsibility. When you blame others, you're handing over control to everyone and everything around you. And spoiler alert, you cannot control everyone and everything around you. Ang nakokontrol lang natin ay ang ating mismong mga sarili. Kaya start there and don't blame others. You may not be to blame for your current messy situation, but stepping up and saying that you're going to take care of it is a power move. Of course, hindi naman kasalanan lahat. No? But then, kung sabihin mo na, I will do something for this, then it's a power move to solve this problem. And it's a shining example of vulnerability because you're saying, I have a problem. I'm not perfect, but that's okay. I can deal with it and I will deal with it. No? Sorry po, may tumawag po sa akin, no? Kaya continue po natin. Okay? So, yung una is aminin natin na meron tayong mga kahinaan, mga pagkakamali, mga weaknesses. Pangalawa is assume the responsibility. No? Pangatlo na maging vulnerable is tell someone they're being hurtful or insensitive. Sabihin mo nga nakakasakit ka, no? At insensitive ka. Calling them out when they truly cross the line makes you vulnerable. You're making your feelings and opinion about that other person known. This is risky. Things could escalate. Some will take it more personally than others. And some people might be annoyed that you're rocking the boat or whatever. So, pag nakakasakit na ang nanay at tatay mo, sabihin mo na I feel hurt. Nakakasakit ka na. Kaya yun rin yung may kausap akong isang kapwa-pari ko. Sinabi niya sa akin, Father, kung nakakasakit na ako, just tell me. Yan ay isang paraan na maging vulnerable. But if you know what you stand for and you stand up for it, then that's a powerful form of vulnerability. Note, however, that there's a difference between calling someone out for being cruel or harmful and calling someone out because you disagree with them. The latter is wrong and makes things worse, not better. So, ang vulnerability, no, is hindi yung dahil nagdi-disagree ka sa iba and no, you merong difference yun sa yung kan lang, no, yung being cruel at harmful ang iba. The latter is wrong. But yung sabihin mo na cruel at harmful ang iba, yun ay tama. Yan ay vulnerability. Okay. Pang-apat, no, yung una is accept your weaknesses. Pangalawa, don't blame others. Pangatlo, ay sabihin mo na nakakasakit ang iba dahil may masama silang ginagawa sa'yo o masamang salita. Hindi naman yung hindi ka lang nagdi-disagree sa kanila. Because everyone is entitled to his or her opinion. Pangapat, tell someone you appreciate, admire, respect, love them. Hindi mo lang sabihin ng mga negative, pero sabihin mo rin na ang ganda na ginagawa mo. You appreciate them, you admire them, you respect them, you love them. This goes for simply telling another person you think they're cute, for letting your friend know you really admire who they are as a person, for expressing respect and love to your parents, and yes, even confessing your undying, never-ending love for someone. All of this require you to be vulnerable because you never really know exactly how someone else feels about you, which could mean their feelings might not match yours, which could create an imbalance in the relationship, which could change the dynamics of the relationship, and on and on and on. So kung may magandang ginawa ang nanay at tatay mo, you tell it, no? Thank you ma, no? Okay. So yun yung apat na paraan to be vulnerable, no? First is you admit that you are not perfect, that may mga weaknesses ka. Second, you don't blame others, no? You also accept the responsibility. Third is you manifest your feelings of being hurt. At fourth, you also appreciate and admire others. What vulnerability is not? Okay. The confusion manifests itself in one of two forms. First, using vulnerability as another tactic to get people to like you, find you attractive, give you money, etc. Wag naman, wag mong gamitin ng vulnerability para isang tactic, no? Para magustuhan ka ng tao, no? Magbigay sila ng pera. Pangalawa, using emotional vomit as a way to be vulnerable. Okay. Vulnerability is not a tactic. A very common problem people run into is that they see vulnerability as another tactic they can use, no? Para bang magkaroon ka ng bagong boyfriend or girlfriend, maging vulnerable ka on other people to get them to view them in a certain way. They think, oh, okay, father says I just need to tell someone some stuff I don't normally tell people, and then they'll like me, give me a raise. If you're telling someone about how you felt when your father died, or your drained relationship with your dad, or how you really bonded with your friend when you went to Santa Ana together, but you're doing it all just to get them to like you more, well, that's not vulnerability. It's manipulation, no? So kapag vulnerable ka, hindi dahil gusto mo na gustuhin ka ng tao. It's just a free expression of yourself. Gustuhin ka man o hindi ng tao. No? Manipulation ang tawag doon. The problem here is that it's not genuine, and therefore it's not vulnerable. Not only are you continuing to be fake and inauthentic, but you're now pursuing unworthily some of your most cherished life memories to try to get someone to like you. Genuine vulnerability is not about what you do. It's all about why you're doing it. Why I am vulnerable. It's the intention behind your behavior that makes it truly vulnerable or not. Kung maging vulnerable ka dahil gusto mo lang na gustuhin ka ng tao, that's not it. But if you're vulnerable because you manifest your feelings, you freely express your feelings, your emotions, and your thoughts, and your opinions, no matter what the response to it, then that is vulnerability. Are you making a joke because you think it's funny? That's being vulnerable. Or because you want other people to laugh and think you're funny, that's being needy. No? Ang opposite ng vulnerability ay neediness. Kung mag-joke ka is kasi alam mong funny, no? Kung hindi man sila tatawa, it's just okay. Pero kung nagpapatawa ka kasi gusto mo lang na isipin ka ng tao na ikaw ay nakakatawa, that is neediness. That is not vulnerability. Are you telling someone you're attracted to about your hobbies to simply share yourself with them? That's being vulnerable, no? Yung sinasabi mo yung hobbies mo kasi you simply share yourself with them. Or are you doing it to show them your sensitive side? That's being manipulative. Are you starting your own business because you're sick of your day job and you found something you really want to try out? That's being vulnerable. Or because you read a book that told you the only way to be successful is to own a business and you want to impress people. No? So don't impress people. Just do things that you are passionate about and that you really value. The goal of real vulnerability is not to look more vulnerable. It's simply to express yourself as genuinely as possible. Ano naman yung emotional vomit and vulnerability? Emotional vomit is when you suddenly unload an inappropriate amount of emotions and personal history onto a conversation, usually to the utter horror of the person listening. Emotional vomit is difficult because on the one hand, It is genuinely vulnerable, but on the other hand, it's repellent and unattractive. In effect, you're being open and authentic about how needy and pathetic you are, and whether hidden or apparent, neediness is never attractive. No? For example, ino-open mo na, hindi ko kayang mabuhay kung wala siya. No? Mga ganun. No? Okay? So that is emotional vomit, neediness. Okay? Five signs of neediness, codependency. Ito yung emotional vomit. Number one, constant need for reassurance that you're liked and loved. No? Laging gusto mo na ikaw ay nagugustuhan ng tao at minamahal ng tao. Pangalawa, high demand for attention. Lagi kang KSP. No? Okay? Kulang sa pansin. No? Number three, sacrificing one's identity. Hindi ka naman ikaw yun. No? Sinasacrifice mo yung identity mo. Fourth, failure to take responsibility for one's own emotions. No? Okay? Number five, discomfort in being alone. Kapag hindi mo kayang mag-isa, then needy ka, codependent ka, meron kang emotional vomit. The difficulty with emotional vomit is that if you're harboring a lot of neediness, then it needs to come out somehow, in some way, for you to ever resolve it. The mistakes people make with emotional vomit is that they expect the simple act of vomiting it out to suddenly fix their issues. No? Kapag sinabi mo na yung problema mo, masasolve mo na. No, solve it. But the point of emotional vomit is to make you aware of your issues so you can fix them. No, mahina ako sa finances, kaya ako ngayon ay nagbabasa ako ng mga libro tulad nito. No? Yeah. I will teach you to be rich. No? Ibig sabihin, I want to improve on my finances. No? Okay? Sa manual labor, let's see. No? The emotional vomit gave me the awareness to do my healing, but it wasn't the healing by itself. Eventually, you have to become accountable for your own thoughts and feelings and work them out. If not, then you're just going to continue to be angry and frustrated, turning off everyone you come across. Okay, so yan, no? Power in vulnerability. Bryn Brown talks about this in her book, Daring Greatly. A person who can make themselves vulnerable, exposing their weaknesses without any regard to what others will think, is saying to the world, I don't care what you think of me. This is who I am, and I refuse to be anyone else. In order to become more resilient, more formidable, you must first bear your flaws and weaknesses for the world to see. In doing so, they lose their power over you, allowing you to live your life with more honesty and intention. Alam niyo, sinabihan ako ng tao na it appears that I am elitist. Para bang yun. No? But then I don't care. That's my weaknesses. No? And I work for it. But then if I appear so intellectual, no? Because that's who I am. No? I study and I am an introvert person, so I accept who am I. Opening oneself up to vulnerability, training oneself to become comfortable with your emotions, with your faults, and with expressing oneself without inhibitions doesn't happen overnight. No? It's a process, a grueling one at times. But I can assure you, if you put in the work, if you have the difficult conversations, if you express yourself honestly, even when it's risky to do so, if you tell the world, this is who I am and I refuse to be anything else, you'll find new depth in your relationships, all of your relationships. So, thank you very much. This is Father Christian Jesse Matias Saliping. That is my number, that is my email, and I got my ideas from markmanson.net. So, see you in the second topic of this recollection. So your religion teachers will be posting in your Quipper one essay question, and please submit them to your Quipper account. Thank you and God bless.